several services here, right? We've created several endpoints. These we refer to as web service endpoints, right? Each one of these are web service endpoints, all right? And now we're going to be working with a different entity, okay? But it would not be a good practice to put all the endpoints in one single place, right? So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to first move this into a separate file. Right, we're going to save this, copy and paste it, and we're going to put this in a different directory, in user.service.server, user.service.server. Okay, and we're going to put it in a separate directory called services, right? And because we're going to have more than one web service, right? So we're going to put it in there. And from app, instead, what we're going to do is that we're going to remove all this implementation, and instead we're going to load that module. We're going to say require, right, this service module we just created. So let's load starting at services/user service, right? And we're going to pass as argument the app, right? And hopefully that should work just the same. Let's restart. Let's see if I broke something. Let's go back and log in. Let's refresh. Bob and Bob. So that still works. I didn't break it, right? And now inside of it, now we can start creating many different services, one per type of entity, right? So let's create now the website services in here, right? So we can say here. Create the website .service.server.js, which is going to be its own module, right? It's going to have module.exports function, which is going to take as argument the app, same, right? And from the app.js, we're going to load that new module that deals with just the web services, right? So this will be website service, and we're going to have one per entity, right? We're going to have for a website, we're going to have one for page, right? We're going to have another one for, we're going to have another one for widgets, right? Widget. And for each one, we're going to load it here. So this is a top level app.js, which loads all the dependencies of all the services. Eventually, we'll also load all the data models, right, that talk to the database for inserts and updates and whatnot. For now, it's just loading the services, right? So website, page service, and the widget service, right? All the services. Okay? Server. Oops. Okay? These services, what they do is they like any service, right? Its role is to sit in between two worlds, right? Provide an API, a protocol, a mechanism that allows two disparate places to talk to one another. Okay, in this case is HTTP world, right? Which is the world of streaming things, right? Connecting through between two processes, using this stateless HTTP protocol, right? And converting that world into an object world, okay? And that's exactly what this service does, right? It maps the HTTP world, right? Maps this HTTP world of the HTTP GET with the URLs and parameters and path parameters and query strings and bodies and whatnot, and it maps it to a local object-oriented world, right? And here's us converting query strings into a local object, local variables, right? And basically this would be converted. This is almost you doing the work of a controller, right? I'm converting events in the HTTP world into object representation, and then I would delegate the actual action of finding a user or creating and things like that. I would delegate it to a model, a data model, right? Or a business layer that would handle any business logic. Okay, so the service layer role is only to convert between these two worlds and then delegate to whoever actually does the work. It's not the responsibility of the service to do the work. Up to this point, we're going to leave it here. Eventually, we're going to move it to a little deeper into a data model. Or if you want to have it even more layered, right, maybe a business layer in between there as well. Like you can include some business logic, okay? But we're not going to make it so tiered, right? So we're only going to have a service layer and a data model layer, right? The data model layer we'll talk about when we get to MongoDB, right? All right, so let's move on to a website. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so the server JS starts up. It loads our app, right? And our app loads all our services. Up to this point, we only have really one service implemented, which is this one. Yeah, we'll load all these. These one are not doing anything; they're empty, right? But app.js is loading user service. And what user service is registering with Node.js and says, "Hey, Node.js, listen for these incoming HTTP patterns, right? If you see these URL patterns coming, because there's only really one server, right? But Express allows you to configure this server to listen for incoming URL patterns, right? And then bind executables for each URL pattern, right? That are going to handle, right, that URL when it comes in from the client. They're not. What do you mean by loaded? Yeah, it's loading all of them at the same time. Yes, it's registering. Basically, it's registering all these URL patterns with Node.js and binding them to executables. Right? Who's going to handle when these come in? Right? As interrupts. Right? As the HTTP requests come into the server. Yep. So the website service is gonna contain the data for the website, right? Which we have somewhere here, assignment Wednesday, and we had the service, we had the website service. There they are, right? We have the websites. We're gonna move this over to here. We're gonna hold it for now here, but eventually this is gonna be in the database, right? And for now, we're just going to implement just one of these, is find website for the user ID. This one, find all the website for that particular user. Let's implement just that. Right? That's all we have the time for. So the URL for this, according to the assignment, should be right here, API user ID website. Right? So let's implement that. So app.get, I'm going to be reading this, right? And we're going to be responding to that in a method. I'm going to use the same name I used in the client so I can keep it straight in my head, right? So it's going to be implemented by this, right? So this function is going to handle it. Again, this is the request response. This function is participating in that cycle, right? In that request response client server protocol, right? It's going to parse out the user ID from the params, so var user ID, so request params dot user ID, okay, and it's going to retrieve all the websites. So let's copy. We already have that here, right? Let's copy this code. I'm just going to paste it here. And so we're going to iterate over the websites, and we're going to calculate, as we find the developer ID that matches the user ID, we're going to push those websites in there, and we're going to send back that array of sites, right? So to do that, we're going to respond JSON and then the sites, an array of sites, okay? Right? If we didn't find any, it'll just respond with an empty array. Right, so let's do that. So on the service client, on the website service client, instead of doing this, we're going to use HTTP to fetch that, right? So $HTTP, right here, we're going to say HTTP.get And the URL pattern is, where do we have it here? The URL pattern, where do we put it? Here. This is the URL pattern, right? Right there. So that's the URL right there, okay? And the ID, we have it as an argument. There we go. And the controller is going to call us. We're going to return a promise when this comes in. All right, we don't need that anymore. So the controller in the website, that would be website, service, website, controller, and the list right here. Notice that it's using find all websites using the user ID, but this is no longer going to return the website. It's going to return a promise, right? So let's rewrite this. We're going to say we're going to do that. This is going to return a success, right? With a response from the servers right here, websites. So VM.websites, right? It's equal to websites, right? Wait a minute, so this should be declared up here, right? Okay, we don't have that anymore. User ID, we have user ID over here. Let's see, and this should be in the init, right? I guess I was taking a little bit too many shortcuts. Init, right, and we're going to, this should live in the init right here, right? And then just call init here. All right, let's see. Let's try this out. Let's start the server. And let's reload this. Let's reload that. And if we click on websites, did it work? Nah. Did it? The first time around? Preview. Did it go? Really? Header? Yeah. Website, user ID, websites, and preview. Wow, I got it the first time. Let me see if this works. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it worked. Came back from the server. 3, 4, 5. Doesn't have any. And 4, 5, 6 has 3. There we go. Got it done in the first shot. Awesome. All right, let's leave it here. But notice how we are capturing, right, the restfulness of this, right? That we're generating these URL patterns, right, that capture the relationship between the various entities, right? In this case, it's a one-to-many relationship, right? One user has many websites. If it would be many-to-many, right? If it were many-to-many, this URL would have two ways of looking at this, right? Say you have a project and you have many developers on that same project, but one developer can be assigned to many projects, so there'd be a many-to-many. Well, that means that you could have URLs that go either way, right? You have project ID, developer, that would tell you all the developers for a particular project, or vice versa. I could say developer ID, and then project. That would tell me all the projects what a developer is assigned to. See that? Right. So these URLs have a syntax. It's not just willy-nilly whatever you want. Okay. Obviously, I mean, you can map. You can create any URL pattern you want, right? It's arbitrary, but the RESTful API syntax, right, is that you follow these conventions. All right. Okay. Great. Thank you.